Good morning, dear participants of Georgia Youth Business Cup 2019. My name is Minividas, and I'm glad to be with you here again. So, the second day of the cup has been finished, and we definitely have new results, and they look quite promising. And I'm happy to say that there are a lot of interesting development going on. So, in order for you to be more successful, we will be going today over the ratings to see the new leaders, also to see how well they're doing, and also I will be reminding some things from previous days, like about the service industry, and as well we'll be focusing mostly upon the production and also other new industries and other new business units that could be helpful if you're willing to open them and start using them in order to develop your business. All right, so without further ado, let's jump right into the rating, shall we? All right, so I will pass the login part. We'll jump right into the simulation where you can see my previous development from yesterday. So I will be overviewing these business units as well. And now let's go right into the rating about the part that most probably everyone is interested in. So now let's take a look. What we have here, as promised, I'm slowly moving away from the top places. So the demo company is the one that is mine, so you can literally disregard it. And this is just for demonstration, so regard it as if it's not existing. Now, as we can see, there is one participant, company Lin, that is already moving atop of pretty decent cumulative profit, as we can see, and we also can see that the second place, Cholokava, I'm sorry my pronunciation, but these guys look also quite impressive. The revenue per turn is very similar, and revenue and also profit per turn, and we're talking about the last turns, and these are also quite similar. So I think we have already two players that are looking that most probably will be looking quite good in the future. And in the third place, definitely third, and well, even more promising. Sure, from the very beginning the results are maybe not looking that good, but they look amazing. And I think we shall see how the whole thing will be going, and if no serious mistakes will be made, maybe we'll have a new leader. But for now, I taken into consideration revenue generated during the second day, right, after the second turn, and also the profits gained. I think we have our top three at the moment. Also, I can say that there are others that look quite promising. Pretty decent revenue, maybe not as profitable at times. I would suggest reviewing the purchasing prices and maybe as well as the sales prices that you're putting up. Maybe there are some of the expenses that maybe are, well, to this day, if you're investing, that is quite natural that you will have some more than noticeable expenses, and you will have more expenses than income. Which is something quite natural, but you should be starting to focus on getting more and more profitable with every turn. So we have top three. Let's take a look at their companies and what we can see here. So I can see that company Lin, as we see, it's only 200 square meters, but I do see a couple of new products here. So who knows, maybe they will fully focus on their retail and will start generating money simply from that. So why not? Even given the overall situation, the result is pretty impressive without seeing that there is a lot of development, let's say, from other business units. The second company, the one that is coming hard and following them, we can see that these are the same guys. Yesterday we take a look. They're working with their auto repair shop as well as they have working stores. Now, if we take a look at the auto repair shop, we can see that popularity is still 0, but the service level is pretty high, so that sounds great. That's major car repair service. All right, maybe I will see them in Spain and try to find them in Madrid. So actually we can take a look at market analysis, go to service sector, and also go to Madrid. There we go. All right, so I can see that they're slowly but steadily starting to get their share of the market. Obviously, there is a different specialization here as a competitor, and there's a noticeable difference in quality. Now, remember yesterday I spoke about the quality of consumables? Now, these are highly important because quality, if you take a look, there's equipment quality divided by qualification of employees, right? So these are two very important moments, and we can see that one is for quality of equipment, and then there's also minimum quality of consumables. So if you have free consumables, the one with the lowest quality will be taken into consideration as calculating the lowest quality here. All right, so well, there are certain sales going on. That's great. I hope that will work out great, and we'll see how it goes. And finally, we have at the third place, all right, let's call it 576, right? 576 company. Well, they're in, let's see, that's in Netherlands, and I see a pretty decent big store. They're increasing to 300 square meters. That is great, and I think they should be stopping there. And they're dealing with the same product line that they received. So, guys, don't worry. You can literally use other goods and buy them and sell them as well. So expanding product line is also a good idea, or well, getting new business units and trying to expand the business line is also recommended. And as we speak, we could get a look at those more promising guys that are here. Also, so Serenosa, there we go. Ooh, impressive, definitely impressive. I see that this is something quite big and quite obvious. Then why these guys, why Serenosa in rating, they have pretty low profit return, and this is quite understandable because, well, look at those business units. This is a big structure, and well, you know what they say. Sure, there are a lot of threats, but also there are a lot of possibilities. And I see they did look at the video. They did watch the video yesterday because now I can see that they're developing into New York, and US is quite impressive regarding the level of income. So US at this point is a good choice. So I can see that they're also developing not only the retail, but also looking fully into their also other retail services as industry overall. So this is great. And then company as for us, we can see that they're also growing the store little by little. Also, we can see that weaving mill is getting bigger. So we can see that at this point, now actually just more workplaces. Well, but still expanding. And also we can see that some of the new products introduced in their stores. So they are starting to move on. So once again, to this day, I would like to recommend to be more creative and try not to be that careful. Of course, I wouldn't recommend to repeat this mistake because we have one player that has, well, let's say at this point, I'm afraid the corp might face well, you're going into pre-bankruptcy status. So when you're in that kind of status, your actions most probably will be stopped unless someone will buy some of your business units, because due to you not having cash and, well, starting generate debts. So at this point, I hope today you still have the control of your company and you can still do something. We can see there are a lot of investments going on, so I hope they do pay off. Well, hopefully that works for you. And as we can see, there's a really big store here, and hope that works. And you still have that control in your hands. Otherwise, this might be quite an issue. So sure, expending a lot is, well, investing is okay, but don't forget that you still need at least a small amount of cash in order to cover your everyday running expenses. All right, so please don't overdo it. Oh, actually we have two companies that already have it at minus, so maybe the corp can still do it, but Sigismund looks quite, well, dangerous from my point of view. This is quite dangerous, and we also have some others. So I understand that you're trying to invest heavily. I hope that pays off. All right, so okay, so as we're done with the ratings, let's move on into the production. I will once again we'll review the factories. We'll go through the various business units later on, and also I will show you some other cool tricks that might be useful in the process. So production, once again, when you have a factory and you have two of those, it's up to you. Either you want to, well, simply close them or simply fire all the people that are working there. Once again, it's absolutely up to you what you're willing to do with them. But the idea is that both of your factories, they produce two products, right? Two goods. One is the clothing. You can actually change the specialization and produce different goods with different raw materials. At the same time, the weaving mill produces cloth that also can be used in retail trade. So at this point, you can use part of the production for the clothing manufacturing, and the other part can be sold both in retail, both in wholesale. So I think this is a really good thing. It is not necessary for you to focus on size and growing at this point if you don't see the potential, but it's still a good way to generate certain product that can be sold and can generate you a certain decent profit. So at this point, I would definitely use well, that as a chance to generate some more revenue and profit. Now, every factory is quite similar, so I would recommend focusing on production if possible, and you have still the funds to try and produce the goods that you think could be quite profitable. And once again, we can go into the interface and explore the necessary, the information that specifies what necessary parts you will need, what kind of raw materials you will need, and definitely, well, most of the raw materials are available for you through independent suppliers for the participants of this event, so there should be. So at this point, the question is, what is the price? Try to calculate an average how much it would cost to produce one good and try to sell them. Let's take a look. All right, there we go. So, analytics reference. This is where you have to go when you want to review all the business units. Now, this is quite critical here because we're talking about, well, yes, there are agriculture, there are other things that you could be producing like cars and chemicals and so on and so forth. So, some of these business units produce simply assemble, use the raw materials and produce parts for other products, and some produce the final products. So at this point, well, let's say we want to, well, for example, take a look, and we produce bicycles here. Now we can see what is necessary at this point. It's quite easy because in this case, then we don't need that many spare parts. All we need are the materials like steel and rubber, or in this case, carbon fiber and rubber. So we have some additional quality modifier, which is great. And as we can see, the build up is really 1 week, which is great, which means tomorrow the whole thing will be up, but you will lose one additional turn to receive all the raw materials. And once again, one more additional week in order to buy the equipment and hire people. And that means, well, 3 turns in order to receive your first batch of the bikes, right? So this is of the bicycles. So this is a bit tricky. Unless you're sure that your investment will pay off, I would recommend to plan your actions accordingly. Because remember, there is an important moment with the timing. It can take the videos, open them up, especially the video from the first day, and you can find an explanation with more of a theoretical part about production. There's a special link there that will lead you to a specific time within the video. At the end of the part about production, there is a part about the timing. So the timing is quite necessary to understand that for the purchase, a recalculation is needed, and when you have the good, additional recalculation is needed for the system to finally actually produce the good, to calculate what kind of good you will be able to produce during that week. So that means in order to start the production, if you have a factory and you don't have raw materials, you would require at least 2 turns to get the full, to get the final product. If you still need to build a factory, that means that adds another virtual week, so another recalculation, so that means 3 turns. Which means, at best, you would see them somewhere in the middle of a week, which is quite a possibility, but I'd say given the short period of the game, that this is again an intensive one, I would recommend focusing on something that can generate you pretty decent revenue and profit faster than this. So once again, if you have an idea and you think this would work out, give it a try. Could be a good decision if you know and you already found a market for a specific product and you know you could sell it for a lot. So if there is a difference in, let's say, raw material prices, and also there's a big demand for the final product, this could be a good idea. But once again, that means you have to go to analytics, take a look at the market analysis and all the regions. This is a retail, this is a city retail market review, market information, and this is where you can go through all the products and you can check, all right, so I can sell these, how much could I earn on these, right? How much profit could I make? But naturally, you then have to check out the prices of the raw materials, and then just to be sure how much you would be able to earn after you produce the final product. So once again, analytics, reference, macroeconomics if you want information about the countries, market analysis if you want information about the products, both city retail and the product wholesale, as well as the service sector, and so on and so forth. So this is where you search for information, and in reference you can find a lot of info about various business units, not only production but also others. A good example, once again, in production is how the whole thing works when we can go, for example, to a weaving mill, and this is one of the reasons why I left this on, is you can check the red numbers where efficiency is going down, so we could jump in and check why. As I mentioned before, the overall decrease in efficiency will affect the total efficiency of the business unit, and that means that's a negative impact of the result on the result of their production. So either the amount, or might be a minus on the quality of the production. So in this specific situation, what we can see is that qualification of employees is below what is required according to technology. So they're not exactly working with the equipment, they're not fully utilizing their abilities at this point. So what we might need to do is still raise their salary at least a little bit and see what happens. No, that's still not enough. About 205. Yeah, that should be doing it. So at this point, the efficiency will be recalculated at the end of the turn, and this is where we will see change. But let's say the new batch should be okay, and if we go into production, and this is what we see is the last quantity produced, and we can see that quantity is to be around closer to round number, but it's not due to certain drop in efficiency. Now, also what we can also see, there's a small trick with this factory, is that if you want to start producing high quality of goods, you need to solve this problem, because there's a huge amount of raw materials, but their quality is only 1. So at this point, you could definitely can find someone with higher quality, and that is recommended, right? Huge quality here, for example, and even 20 is something a little bit cheaper, but they're pretty close, or something like these guys. But the idea is that when you will ship a lot of raw materials, the question is how much you will need to buy in order to raise the average quality. So maybe shipping them off part of this, so let's say part of this wool to your warehouse is also a possibility. Of course, you need to build a warehouse previously to that, and then you can ship part of the stock or the whole thing, but not a whole thing because then the production will stop. So I would recommend to ship off part of this stock into the warehouse, and that will allow you to increase quality faster and without having too much expenses. And at the same time, we can see that there is when you will have, if let's say you will choose to sell your production to other participants, not only just your own company, but actually go into the wholesale market in general, what will happen, and well, if you succeed and you will have many orders, you will see that there will be a list of various buyers. So if you want your company to be as a primary buyer, so the way it works is first ordered, first served. So first in, first out. Something that comes from accounting, right? So in this situation, the one that will be at the top of the list will be the first company that will be receiving the production from you. Others will be, and those at the bottom of the list, they will be the last ones to receive the production. So if you will run out, they might not get anything. So in this situation, be sure that your companies are specifically in, well, highest position, I would recommend. Or there's also a possibility that you can ship off part of your production into your warehouse and use your warehouse as a wholesale position as well. And as for technologies, I did receive various requests, really questions. There is a possibility to try and buy a license, like more of like a franchise license, but the problem here is that only other players can sell them to you. And you will be, well, there is a small chance that they will see you right off the bat. And, well, that's quite a question. Will you be able to find someone there? On the other hand, what we can see here is there is a seller of technology level 8 out there, and he or she is willing to sell the specific level of technology. But as we can see, total cost of the whole thing is purchasing and introducing is over 150 million. So in a long term, this is an interesting and good solution. But I mean, this is a good purchase, but the problem is that at this point, I'm not sure you have the funds to do that. So you can't, be careful there. Once again, investing is good, but you have to do it properly. Otherwise, you will be losing a lot of money here. And in my clothing factory, everything looks pretty good. There is a recommendation to hire more workers, well, because we do have more place to put up the equipment, but at this point it does not negatively affect the efficiency in office. And if the production, let's say quantity, is pretty fine with me at this moment, I don't mind keeping it where it is. Surely, if I want to buy new equipment and hire more people, that's not a problem. But take into consideration that if you don't have enough production, I mean, you don't have enough raw materials, you might face an issue. Well, a very good example. Right now, as you can see, what is required is 6.606, so that's 606 units of cloth that I require in order to be producing clothes, right? So if, for example, I decide to buy the equipment and, well, to install additional 50 units of machinery, so let's say I want to buy, oh, let's do it this way. I need to be 40 and buy equipment, which is then below what is required, but I can buy, again, I'm still below, so I can either try to repair, which though, no, I don't have that much break, so let's remove the 10 pieces of equipment and then buy additional 25 quality again. And that solves my problem. So the idea is if you miscalculate it, you can remove the equipment. Sure, you will be losing a little bit. There will be some operational costs, but in the end, you will end up with the quality that is necessary or shouldn't be below what is required. Well, yeah, I overdid here a little bit, but hey, it happens. So once again, don't do it like me. Try to purchase more carefully. Now, as we can see, the production load is only at 50% because there are 100 machines and there is only 50 of employees, and also my qualification of employees is below what is required. So here I am to hire additional employees and look into the salaries in order for them to be ready to work with that equipment. Oh, let's keep it at that, shall we? And there we are. So as mentioned before, equipment and employees will arrive into a factory during the same virtual week, which means virtually right instantaneously. However, the raw materials will arrive only after recalculation. So which means before you do that, something like that, you have to be sure that you have enough production in stock, right? We have enough raw materials in stock in order to start the manufacturing process. And we actually, in this situation, I would like to increase the amount of goods I'm selling, and I would like to order more from my own business unit. And right now, this should be, oh, how about ask 800, right? And is that enough? Well, roughly, yeah, should be doing it. All right, so let's add those 20. There we go. That covers it. Great. So here production is going smoothly, the supply chain is alive, and I can see that everything is pretty well here. There's no problem with the amount of available production, so I'm receiving all the goods from this supplier. Once again, there is a threat when we are talking about real live sellers because they might be mistakes and there might be a shortage of goods, and that's quite an issue here. But in this case, everything is going well, and well, I'm selling clothes only to my stores only, so I'm not selling them to other companies. So at this point, because I don't want to compete with you, so I'll leave it as that. Now, there's also an opportunity to open one more business unit, I believe. We could go through that. Well, first and foremost, if you have a factory, let's finish with the tasks and then let's talk about the new business units, shall we? At the moment, what we can see all right. One second. Okay, so at the moment, what we can see is that the production tasks that were given to you previously, these are absolutely the same. And technically, you can repeat the process again and again and again, and you have to review them if you are making, well, changes in the size, either in operations, because when you're increasing the size of the either the amount of equipment you can use, which means it's a build-up, or you're buying new additional equipment, or you're also, well, then you need to hire additional people, and then you need to buy additional raw materials. So as you forgo this kind of process, you have to take into consideration your expenses as well as you have to plan your actions accordingly because, as showed previously, raw materials will arrive only after recalculation, while equipment and employees will reach your factory right away. So this is something you have to take into consideration because timing is important. Otherwise, your factory will not be performing at maximum efficiency. So this is something you have to take into consideration. And once again, if you can still develop the brand value, but given the fact that you will be developing your business in various countries, most probably, and I could literally suggest you to think that at this point, as we saw from the rating, as we were reviewing various companies, my guess is that the guys that actually started developing their businesses in different countries, they have more chance to succeed and grow to succeed with their business for a simple reason. They have more chances to earn and generate more revenue and profit. The reason is very simple because there are different countries, there are different level of income as well as different activities. And if they have time and will to focus and work out all the business units and tune up their performance, they will definitely receive a lot more income because there are different sources of income in the first place. So once again, the business you have received is a starting point. Where you will go with this is absolutely up to you. So you either can close down the factories or you can actually literally use them. So it's up to you. Right, so let's come back to the service industry before we go to the new business units, because I did see certain mistakes yesterday. Let's go to auto repair shop. This is my store, no personnel, no equipment, only a price, and consumables have arrived. That's great. Now, as mentioned before, if the business unit is a small one, it doesn't have enough place in a warehouse, so you have to be careful here. So this is like, half of my warehouse is full. I have to be careful here. So because I don't know how much I'll be selling, how about I go to supply? And there's already a warning that maybe I'm overdoing it with my purchases. If I want to cancel all these orders, there is one way. I click here on the right side, right? This is what I want to click. You can see I can select all the positions and simply cancel selected contracts. When I do that, all my contracts have been canceled and I have only that production which has arrived and the one that I have in my warehouse already. So in this situation, what I will be doing is I will be going into equipment and I want to buy a certain level of equipment here. So I can see that there is a very good proposition here, but this is quite expensive and that will affect the required qualification of my employees later on. So how about we buy free of quality 1 and we buy 2 more of quality of 17 something. So at the end we have final quality of 7.66, and as a result our overall quality of equipment is 7.66, and that generates a certain requirement for qualification, which in this case, now given this is not just production unit, but also this is a service, it is quite important to know what is the city average. So in this kind of situation, I would probably use to hire all the necessary employees, but I would choose the average city salary and focus on the expected level of staff qualification to be the same as city average, and because it's higher than recommended. I think that would help me out to have my quality of service be higher. Now, in this situation, I also might need to do at least some sort of advertising, and that 10,000 is not much and should be fine. So let's see how that will go, and tomorrow I think we will see the results. Will that be a good deal or not. If we want to see the city market, we can see that in Vilnius, well, there's a store with Bodyworks, which is quite expensive. But, well, let's see how that goes and if I can get part of my share of the market in my own home city, huh? All right. So this is really about the retail trade, about the retail services. Now, what is also important that consumables, you have information hinted to you that consumable per client, which means you need one of each of the consumables in order to service one client. If you're short of one of these, you won't be doing good, you won't be providing services, the business unit will simply stop because they can't provide the service, right? So the same goes for restaurant, and in specifically here in consumables, if let's say the reason why I bought, if we look at the fish, I bought 200 compared to 10 or well 100 for every other position. The reality is that the given incomes here, the consumption per client is 1, 1, 2, and 1, which means I need twice the amount of fish compared to other components. So in this specific situation, that's why that's the structure bought. And the same way as in a car shop, car repair shop, what we're gonna do is find us some equipment, and we can see that, well, the independent suppliers here have better price, but comparing the price, this guy here has amazing quality. So you know what, let's do the same thing. Let's buy one equipment from this guy and then 4 more from the quality 1. So what will happen is that I have overall quality of equipment 8. Well, maximum is 20, so I could increase that, but at this point I want to simply give it a try to see how it goes. And once again, the city average, I see there are certain expectations, so I would be keeping it at the city average, and I'll give it a try. I'll see how my price is going. Also, I can see, is there a demand for my kind of, well, specialized services in seafood, and well, we can see that there is only fast food, so we'll see how that goes. And we'll see how that goes. We'll see, do I have good chances to provide this service or not. In medical centers, once again, similar to other business units of service industry, the difference was that we needed first and foremost to build it up. So only now we can order consumables. And if we look for supplies, well, there we go. There is actually the Ackerman Industries here, and they have a pretty decent proposition. So how about we buy 500, but let's make this one-time purchase. And when this production will arrive, I can, well, technically I can order equipment right away. And we can also check out what we have here, and I can see that in Arsenal 71 they have some really good proposition as well. So there's more than one choice, which is great. So I can hire new people. I can purchase the equipment tomorrow, as well as hire additional people and start the advertising and probably place the price as well. At this point, we have to be aware of the differences between the business units, because if it's like, for example, medical center, it's a build-up. Restaurant, auto repair shop, and stores, this is a rent, like an office too. While, you know, at this point, medical center is similar to clothing factory and overall factories, because it's a build-up. All right, so overall, my office is at 100% efficiency, which is great. Well, the city average is higher, but I'm doing pretty well with what I'm paying, which is great. And also we have, so that's in Spanish office. Also, an office in Vilnius is not doing well because, well, I didn't hire anyone here. So how about I buy some computers for them? 2 and 2. Well, let's just have them 4. And and now we can hire employees, 4 more employees, because I do have a lot of things here going on. So how about we pay only 400, because it's, well, a little bit below city average, but it's above the required. And there we go. So that should have solved that should solve the problem. And the New York office is empty at the moment, but I have no business units there yet. But because we're speaking about new business units, something that I didn't have a chance to talk about previously, we can go in and open a new subdivision or a business unit, for example, education institution, which is also a type of a service, industry, into United States of America, and there we go. One of these, either New York or Philadelphia. Well, let's go to New York. Why not? Kindergarten in New York. So once again, this is also, as mentioned before, this is an industry, a service industry representative. To a certain extent, we will need equipment, we will need consumables. So this is something we can do. And how about I'd open up a kindergarten? Why not? And a pretty small one. So the good thing is that it's also rented. We rent the location, pretty similar to, well, the difference is that we can also change the location as well as the size. It also can change the district. So this is pretty similar to a restaurant and the car repair shop. Depending on the district and the size, these can be changed in order to adjust your marketing mix, which is highly recommended to review sometimes if there is a lot of the competition is pretty fierce, and I think there's not much of a competition at the moment. Pricing, of course, is slightly scary, but if we can get those, that is great. Now, another subdivision, which could be something that you want to look into, probably some would say, whoa, a mine. Well, a mining operations is good, but I would strongly recommend to slightly, at least in the beginning, keep away from it, because this is extremely expensive. I mean, buying an oil rig, right? That is an expensive thing. So as in reality, same here. But let's go and open an animal farm to this day, because we do have a clothing business and we might need a sheep farm, right? Get some wool. So we go into and open up, and we want our sheep to grow in, well, let's say in Lithuania, but we'll go to Kaunas, and there, 1 second. Yes, let's go to Kaunas here. And now what we can do is choose specialization once again, same as in other business units. When you're growing sheep, the question is really, what is the purpose of your, let's say, why do you grow the sheep? Either you're breeding, right? Breeding the sheep, so you'll be selling them. You'll be trying to, your focus is on the lambs, or your focus is on the meat and wool, or maybe breeding and getting some wool, or maybe meat and wool, and so on and so forth. The difference is that depending what kind of specialization you're focusing on, you will require different forage, and there might be some different quality modifiers. So my focus is to go for wool, and that's exactly what I want to do. So as we can see, there are 2 possibilities to get here. There are 2 specializations. So I either can use grain, or I can use forage crops. So let's do this for now, and maybe we'll change it later on. So as we can see, there's also a build-up. So I will see the farm only tomorrow. I will be able to specialize and go in more depth about the farms, I guess, tomorrow. What is important to know that in this point, you will require to match, oh, there's even a level of technology available. So there's a possibility to buy that if you have enough cash, or just work with that and what you have. Now, when we open a new sheep farm, the buildup will be started, and the difference from manufacturing facility is that you have to keep your sheep alive, which means you will have to match the quality modifier of the sheep as well as the quality modifier of the forage you'll be using for them well, to stay healthy and not to get sick and not to die, as well as to match the qualification of employees to be working with a decent amount of animals. And then as a result, pretty similar to as in manufacturing facility, you will receive end result and you will be able to sell it. Let's take a look at another possibility. What you can open is a warehouse. The warehouse is very simple. It's an automated warehouse which you can open basically anywhere. You don't need employees. That's a big thing. And also specialization gives you an opportunity to focus on what kind of goods you're storing there or using it to sell. So you can't use warehouse for everything. You have to specialize. So for example, raw materials, because I will be generating wool, how about we go to raw materials and continue. Sure, you will be able to change it later on. So there are rent costs. That's it basically. Maybe also logistics, but these are calculated automatically. So what happens is that I can use it, as I mentioned before, as a sales point, as a whole sales point, a whole sales point. Also, I can store some of the raw materials or produced goods here as well. If, let's say, my warehouse in the factory is overoccupied and there's simply too much of the production, so I want to ship it somewhere, but I still don't want to overoccupy the stores. Once again, supply looks very similar. We can either click and search for sellers in a similar way as in a factory or in a retail trade, or we can go into the weaving mill or another business unit where we have the supply part. For example, here when we have a pretty huge amount of cloth, of wool that is quality one, and I want to buy, well, cloth, I want to produce cloth of high quality, I need wool of high quality. So I can buy something, don't mix up. So I can buy some wool from others, but I still need to use the one that I already have here. So the solution is very simple. Click on the yellow car and you will have, as you can see, we already have a warehouse. Well, I do. So my choice would be to ship off 20,000 units and ship them off. So what happens, they will leave the warehouse right away. And when we have, well, a little more place, which is good. And also when we will buy some additional wool of higher quality, it will be a lot easier to raise the average quality in one go. So for example, go to this guy and ask for, let's say 5,000 units, but let's make this one-time purchase. Also, there's a possibility to click on button required, which will automatically calculate how much you need. But because I'm buying in advance, that's exactly what I will do. And there we are. So solved problem solved. And that's the benefit and a lot of more useful ways you can use a warehouse. One more useful business unit you might think of, it's a possibility to develop laboratories. A laboratory is something, let's make it up in Lithuania, in Vilnius. Let's open up here. A laboratory is something that will be also, something that could be useful if you're really willing to develop technologies. The problem is it will require some time to build, and also it will require us then some time to fill up with scientists, equipment, and then start developing technologies. The development of technology can be a long process, so I guess in this case, this might not work for you. But if you're willing to try to develop that technology, give it a try. You can try and experiment with other business units, but take into consideration the duration of the build And if you're not sure how it works, ask us. If you found it out, great, good for you. But at this point, I would strongly still recommend to focus on those business units that you can open up pretty fast, and at the same time that can start generating profit pretty fast. So like a kindergarten, it's already rented, so I need to buy the supplies, and next recalculation I will be seeing the results. Do I have any children in the kindergarten or not? The same thing goes for restaurant, for medical centers, and auto repair shops. And there also are other business units that provide services, but I would probably recommend these three, well, four technically, because these use various consumables and they have higher quality of service and they have higher demand for the services. But once again, up to you. Give it a try. You have a lot of freedom to experiment and see how it goes. As mentioned before, if there are any questions within the chat. Oh, and actually, yes, I see there are some of the questions here coming in. So well, we're done with some of the information that I'm providing today. So let's go on and answer some questions. So there's a question from Nazi. Well, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. So there's a question really about the thank you. Right. So the question is, hello, first of all, thanks for interesting competition. Can you please tell us more about second stage of the cup? Well, I will be going into the second stage of the cup, but that will be closer on to the second part of the event. Well, actually, to the end of the second part of the first stage of the event. So probably something like Thursday, maybe Friday, maybe Thursday. We'll see how it goes. All right. Right. So there's also a question from Levan. Okay, and we want to go to rating and open Picasso Boys. Right. Oh, sorry. Sorry about the sudden noise. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, they still have the sound. All right, so Picasso Boys. Ooh, ouch. Haha. Ooh, okay. All right. Well, it looks impressive, but first and foremost, as I mentioned before, there are, well, that's an impressive structure, but you have to be sure that you will be able to generate a decent amount of income to sustain this, this level of activities, right? Because there are salaries that need to be paid. There's also quite important necessity to have, well, raw materials, rent, energy, bills, and so on and so forth. So in this specific situation, I would say, yes, there we go. So in this specific situation, I would say that you should consider the possibilities not to spend too much and to focus on selling the production you started producing. Looks good, looks promising. We'll see how it goes. You have interesting structure here. But for now, I see some activities are not happening. So as I went on previously to what you could be doing or what you could be focusing on in these specific business units, I would recommend doing specifically that. Well, production is an interesting moment here. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully it will work out. Now, another question which I saw was what can we do when unit is unprofitable? Well, the answer is very simple. The unit will be profitable like in my case, when my income will be exceeding, while the level of income will be exceeding my expenses. So in this case, I will have profit. Otherwise, if I'm spending more on the operations of the business unit rather than I'm getting income, that means I'm at a loss. So in this case, I need to raise the prices. Let's say, no, actually, let's go to the store. Let's check the store, and that was also a very good example here. So here we have a pretty decent situation where I have a profit, not as good as it used to be, but still some profit, right? So depending on a business unit, what kind of business unit you're working with, the situation could be different. So I can see that there have some things going on here. So for example, if I am having some of the goods and I don't have prices on, I should set up a price, like for example, going there at least for 6,000, right? Have a pretty decent quality here. Clicking enter as well. So you have to be sure that if you have the goods to sell, then you need to put up a price. Of course, previously you need to order the goods, because right now here I have an issue because I have a lot of empty lot of empty slots or positions that I have no goods and I can't sell them. So in order to sell something, you need that product to be there in the store. Then the price has to be right there and has to be a decent price, competitive, right? I would recommend going through the videos, especially the day one video, where the retail is explained quite well. That would help you to understand, let's say, where exactly you should be going, because there are also some tasks. And also during day two video, there's also an additional task that would help understand the perspective of the consumer, of the end consumer within the store. Is because once again, you have to focus also, look at the whole thing from the perspective of system-based perspective, not just what I'm selling, but also how big is the store, do I have enough employees, is their salary good enough so their qualification is good enough, am I exceeding the minimum required amount, and so on and so forth. Am I advertising? What is the service level that I have? Yeah, there's a minus here, that there are some prices, then there are prices set, so the system will also inform you of possible mistakes that you did previously. So hopefully you will fix them and you will not repeat them. So I hope that helps, Koba. I see there are no more questions, so if you have any questions, type them in the page of in the event page of the Facebook. So you can find the info there, and we'll try to answer them. If some of the questions will be repeated quite often, so naturally we will be focusing and answering them here during the live stream. Once again, if in the beginning, if there are certain difficulties you're facing, or if not exactly sure what to do, go over to the LMS and scroll down, and you will see the video from introduction of the event. So that's day one, also video from live stream of day two, and this same video will be here also. And also I'll be adding, let's say here you can look over what was, you will see added specific links to a specific part of the video where a specific topic is being covered. So I would recommend to go over these again, and they might give you certain insights after you have played a day or two. So you might hear something new, or you might have missed something. So it's recommended to go over these again. And if you have any questions, and if still you haven't found any question, try to formalize it, please, in English, and leave it in the Facebook page of this specific event, Georgia Youth Business Cup 2019. So once again, it was a pleasure. I hope you'll find this useful, and I will see you tomorrow. Good luck.